but this was just brought to my attention. I've not heard it yet, so we're going to hear it together for the first time. It's Aaron Rodgers. He was on the Pardon My Take podcast. He addressed the mandatory minicamp that he missed. By now, you're well aware of this. He was in Egypt when the Jets had their mandatory minicamp that became a big deal in a lot of different ways. He addressed it on Pardon My Take. Here's what he said.
Now it's not minicamp. They can arbitrarily put a tag on whatever week of OTAs they want. So this is the minicamp week, which makes it somehow more mandatory than the other weeks. But it was an OTA schedule. That's how how words can be a little deceiving from time to time. You can make a story out of the fact that I missed a minicamp when it was really 2 OTA days.
Right.
Interesting.
That came to the first 10.
So this is a media thing.
And you would never change the meaning of a word or deliberately tell people
No,
one
of course
thing.
not.
Oh,
That's literally exactly what he did. Like he did the thing. He literally changed the meaning of a word, and then they said, "Oh, you would never do a thing you just literally did 10 seconds ago on this podcast." Like that. That's very strange.
I think that they were I think that reference was going back a little ways also. I don't think that's what they were talking about. Okay, so all right, Herman. Help me with this here. How should we react to this? You were the coach of the Jets once upon a time. You're wearing your green tie and you have your Jets helmet up there just for me today. Is this a big deal? He's making it sound like it's not a big deal. They have to make it not a big deal at this point, one way or the other. But I'll give you the final word. Was this a big deal, and is it a sign of trouble?
Greeny, it's Aaron Rodgers. It's not a big deal. This is who he is. And you know it when you sign on and he's your quarterback. You want Aaron Rodgers to be healthy. And every player on that team, every fan wants Aaron Rodgers to play more than 4 plays this year. And if they do that, if they can do that, this offense will be electric with him playing quarterback. And he knows it. And Aaron Rodgers understands the pressure on him right now. He gets it. But this is the quirky Aaron Rodgers. This is what he does. He always leaves you with, what did he just say? But when he plays quarterback and he's healthy, I tell you what, he's fun to watch. So that's all they care about right now. Can Aaron Rodgers get us to the playoffs? Aaron Rodgers, the last Super Bowl he went to was 14 years ago. Years ago.
Yes. That's the last time that Aaron Rodgers won the Super Bowl, and it is the last time the Jets made the playoffs. Those two things happened in the same year, and that's a terrible coincidence in every conceivable way for both of them. but I will ask you: you sound optimistic. If I give you this as a given right now, and I know it's not one, Rodgers will be healthy. Rodgers will play the overwhelming majority of the season and be generally healthy. You're telling me that the Jets are going to be really good?
I say this, if a healthy Aaron Rodgers, he gives you 4 more wins. So how many did they win last year, Greeny?
7? Yes.
Right? So get 4 more. What you got? You're in the playoffs.
11-6.
You're in the playoffs. Now you're in a good division. You got to deal with the Buffalo Bills. Mm-hmm. You got to deal with the Miami Dolphins. Mm-hmm. So I mean, you're in a good division. But Aaron Rodgers, he brings life to this football team. The defense understands we got a quarterback. We can score some points. This team only scored, 15 points a game? They couldn't score any points. Well, now you got a guy, he walks in the room, you're saying, look, Aaron Rodgers, we got 21 points because we got Aaron Rodgers. Right? We got 21 points right now. We got Aaron Rodgers quarterback. So that makes you feel good. So you can let Aaron Rodgers say whatever he wants to say. Just get him to the game and stay healthy, Aaron, so we can watch you play.
Oh, he's so right. I mean, he has finally made me feel. Herman, who knew that Herman is exactly what I needed today?
You know what's really comforting is that if they don't make the playoffs, he can just say, well, the media said we didn't make the playoffs. We actually did. They can say whatever we want, but we won the Super Bowl. So you know that. So now he's all set.
See, he's poo-pooing. He's a poo-pooer.
Let's see him play.
That's Dan's
Can we see him play? Can we stop listening to what he says and actually watch him play?
My thing is,
I'm eager to see it.
Him missing the mandatory minicamp for me is not a big deal because, like Coach just said, your job is to get Aaron Rodgers on the football field for week 1. You go out there week 1 in San Francisco, you ball out, you get a win. We will hear nothing about no missing minicamp ever again.
That's exactly right. I'm going to the pyramids.
Exactly right.
I'm booking a trip to the pyramids myself. All right, let's go
for Aaron Rodgers, and he just needs to stay healthy.
Oh, they have a bunch of better players now, frankly, than they did even then, they made a lot of other acquisitions over this offseason. And Aaron Rodgers was at most of the offseason program. He, of course, legendarily was not at the few days that they designate as mandatory. He went on the Pardon My Take podcast and talked about missing mandatory minicamp, and here's what he said.
Now is not minicamp. They can arbitrarily put a tag on whatever week of OTAs they want. So this is the minicamp week, which makes it somehow more mandatory than the other weeks. But it was an OTA schedule. That's how it's, how words can be a little deceiving from time to time. You can make a story out of the fact that I missed a minicamp when it was really 2 OTA days.
Right.
Interesting.
That came to the first 10.
Right.
So this is a media thing.
And you would never change the meaning of a word or deliberately tell people
No,
one
of course
thing.
not.
So here's the thing. You know what the operative word in all of this was that was used?
Mandatory?
Well, or inexcused. Remember, his coach said it was inexcused.
Yeah.
Here's the problem that we have. Herman, I want this to be nothing. No one wants anything more than I want this to be nothing. And hopefully it is nothing. And certainly by the time we get to September, I can't imagine this is going to have had any impact on anything. But the thing that still doesn't sit well with me, especially hearing that, is Aaron saying, look, I was there for everything else. This wasn't a big deal. They attach mandatory to these days. I almost buy it. Or there's a part of me that buys it. But the coach didn't. Right. And Dan, he's the one who made this into a thing. This wasn't a media thing. This was the coach thing.
And it was an Aaron thing, which is the thing. Look, it's not a big deal. If he's healthy and he plays well and they win games, no one's going to remember that he missed minicamp.
Right.
The problem is, ever since Aaron Rodgers got to the Jets, he's taken 4 snaps.
Right.
And he's given 4 billion interviews, and he hasn't made any sense in any of them. So, the problem is, it's just one more Aaron Rodgers thing. Would you not love to fast forward to the first week of September and get him on the field and play the game?
Yes.
So the story is not about what he's saying or whether he's in Egypt or anything like that. That's the problem, is we're still stuck where we are over a year ago with Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. We need to see something in the form of football.
That's right. We don't want to talk about whether he's in Egypt or whether he's going to be the vice president.
Irrelevant.
Oh, by the way, that job may be open again now. So, hopefully they don't call him. So, but anyway.
Still not as funny as everybody seems to think.
My only reference of the morning. Herman, is this all going to go great? Is this all going to go great? You're the former coach of the Jets. I know this. Still, you're wearing this beautiful green tie.
So much green.
Is everything with Rodgers? I mean, to Dan's point, so many words spoken. Is everything going to look the way we hope it will when the season begins?
If Aaron Rodgers can stay healthy, this is a legitimate playoff team. And Aaron Rodgers knows it. The people in the NFL know it. Anyone in that AFC East understands that. With a healthy Aaron Rodgers, you won 7 games last year. He's going to give you 4 more wins at least. That gets you in the playoffs. It gets you to compete in a division that has some pretty good football teams. When you mentioned the Buffalo Bills and obviously the Miami Dolphins, I know they're missing some people. But when you think about Aaron Rodgers, this is what Aaron Rodgers does, right? It's like, you remember the old Leave It to Beaver show? The guy, Eddie Haskell, was always the guy that kind of said, why did he do that, right? This is what Aaron Rodgers does. He just always has to say something. So just go play, Aaron. Everybody wants to see you play. Stay healthy. Play more than 4 snaps. Play the whole season. And then you can talk.
Not a reference I was expecting today, but I do know who Eddie Haskell was. Harry, all going to be well, right? I mean, when it's tomorrow they show up, right? Tomorrow camp starts. Tomorrow they show up, and finally it'll be about playing and not about talking.
And that's what it's all about. And at some point, Aaron Rodgers has to understand that everything that comes out of his mouth is going to be national news and attention. But I don't think he cares because he believes so much in his game. And that's why the New York Jets brought him in. They didn't bring him in to have these conversations in the offseason. They brought him in because they feel like they have a guy that can go toe-to-toe with anybody that's on the opposing team sidelines. And if he's healthy, they feel great about that.
Well, one of those guys.